Hey Vision Chasers, this is Dr. Bird here with another social studies lesson for you today. Today I want to talk to you about the Treaty of Versailles of 1919. Now this particular treaty is what brought a formal end to World War I. Now it's important to mention before I go any further that a treaty is a formal agreement between two or more countries. The fighting in this war actually stopped in the latter part of 1918. However, this war was formally ended with the signing of this document the next year in 1919. And on your screen here, what you see is a picture of the cover of this multi-page document. So leaders of the Allied countries, they would be determined the victors in this war. Many of those leaders, they met to discuss what peace was going to look like, what were going to be the terms of agreement, and how would Europe change after this war. These leaders included President Woodrow Wilson from the United States, Georges Clemenceau from France, David Lloyd George of Great Britain, and Vittorio Orlando of Italy. The place for this meeting was a luxurious palace at Versailles, which was just a few miles west of Paris. And here on your screen, you can get an idea of just how amazing this palace is. These pictures that you see right now are pictures from the Hall of Mirrors, and I actually took these pictures when I took a group of students on a trip throughout Europe. And in the Hall of Mirrors, this is the actual place where they actually signed the Treaty of Versailles. So President Woodrow Wilson, representing the United States, when he joined these meetings, he had an agenda. And his agenda was, how can we keep such a war like this from ever happening again? However, he would face numerous obstacles in getting this done. And one of those obstacles was the desire of other Allied leaders wanting spoils of war. Now, Woodrow Wilson's plan was called the 14 Points. And again, his purpose was achieving long-term peace to keep something like this from ever happening again. And so what he wanted to do is he wanted to reverse some of those causes of this war. Now, on a side note, if you want to know more about what caused this war, I want to refer you to another post that I've done regarding the causes of World War I. So check that out whenever you get a chance if you need to know more about what caused this war. But most importantly, Wilson called for a peacekeeping body designed to allow people to talk things out peacefully and diplomatically before they escalated to war. This body was referred to as the League of Nations. Now, as the negotiations went on, President Woodrow Wilson realized that he was going to have to give in. And one of the things that he gave in on was reparations. Now, reparations are simply payment for a cost of war. And Germany is going to be hit really hard with huge reparations that are going to cripple their economy. Now, even though President Wilson gave in to this stipulation, he realized that it was the right way to go, stating that the people of Germany must be made to hate war. But Wilson definitely didn't like the fact that France and Britain were able to expand their empires at the expense of the Germans. And this would later be a point of contention that would lead us again to war in 1939. However, Wilson did achieve some accomplishments. As we saw, Austria-Hungary was split into two countries. Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and Poland were newly created independent countries. Now, I mentioned before that President Wilson would run up against a lot of resistance in terms of getting his 14 points in the Treaty of Versailles so he could achieve long-lasting peace. Now, back home, he would run into problems as well. As a result of the separation of powers and checks and balances written into the United States Constitution, a 2/3 majority vote of the Senate was required in order for the United States to join into this so-called League of Nations. But unfortunately, there were a group of senators called the Irreconcilables, and these senators, they vowed to keep this treaty from gaining approval because, once again, their biggest concern was that it would compel the United States to participate in a war that it did not start. And so as this treaty was being debated on the floor of the Senate and around the country, President Wilson fought hard, going on a long speaking tour in order to promote the United States involvement in this League of Nations. However, and the latter part of 1919, President Woodrow Wilson would suffer a stroke that would leave him in a weakened state. This stroke definitely affected his ability to lead. The U.S. never ratified the treaty or joined the League of Nations. Ironically, the Treaty of Versailles was signed on the 5th anniversary of the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, which was an important event that led up to the fighting in this war. Now, going back to the League of Nations just for a moment, yes, the League of Nations did exist without the United States. However, it was powerless to enforce the terms of agreement in this document. And so due to many factors, such as the Great Depression, the League of Nations was powerless to enforce it when Germany's new leader would break the treaty multiple times, and you can see where we're heading. And so you can see why many historians believe that World War I and World War II were actually one war with about a 20-year gap between the fighting, simply because some of the things that led up to World War I were not resolved. They were only made worse by the Treaty of Versailles. Well, that's our social studies lesson for the day. Please check the Vision Chasers website for more tips and tools to help you along the way. Also, there is a worksheet that goes along with this video that you can use to further your understanding of the Treaty of Versailles as a part of your notes and study routine. This is Dr. Bird. Until we meet again, please keep chasing the vision. Bye.